It was always my intention to do a whole series of analyzing songs from Cowboy Carter. I did some on Instagram a while back, but we'll get into it more in depth on here. And because this type of thing is my forte, when Cowboy Carter came out, someone asked me, "Can you tell me what Daughter is about?" And when I replied, I had promised to do a more in-depth Daughter analysis, and now the time has finally come. There are two sides of interpretations to this song. Interpretation 1 is side A and interpretation 2 is side B. And the reason for this is because I found myself torn between these two ideas and I ended up not wanting to mix them, so we're focusing on side A today. Let's start with the title of the song. This is what I said on April 6th of last year in response to the person who had asked me about the song. For me, it's saying she's her father's daughter. She's not so nice all the time, she's cold when needs be. When people talk about Matthew Knowles, a lot of times they don't have a lot of nice things to say, and in a lot of instances where Beyoncé was blamed for something and others are like, no, blame her dad, he's the manager. Well, she's letting you know that overall, she is her father's daughter. When Beyoncé has spoken about her parents over the years, there's always a contrast between her mother and her father. Her mother is always described as the creative, gentle, nurturing one, and her dad is always talked about as the one who makes more business decisions and may not be so gentle in his approach. Latavia Robertson of Destiny's Child referred to him as Joe Jackson. Beyoncé has also spoken on her dad's approach.
My father taught me so much about being a businesswoman, and I'm understanding him a lot now. And I think I've realized that business and being polite, it doesn't match. I mean, you can be fair, but me being polite was not me being fair to myself. And now I'm learning how political things are, and a lot of the crazy things he did was necessary.
And maybe in a lot of those crazy moments when Matthew ran things, Beyoncé was Mr. Nice Guy, but once she started running her own businesses and had those experiences, she definitely became more like her dad and adapted more of his ways into her life. In general, she started taking on a tougher approach in how she dealt with certain situations in life.
I spent so much of my life a serial people pleaser, and finally, I don't give a fuck.
And anytime Beyoncé has sung about her dad, you get that vibe that he was hard and wanted her to be tough as well. In her song Daddy Lessons, it had lyrics like, "Came into this world, daddy's little girl, and daddy made a soldier out of me. And we rode motorcycles, blackjack, classic vinyl, tough girl is what I had to be. He held me in his arms and taught me to be strong. He told me when he's gone, here's what you do. When trouble comes in town and men like me come around, oh my daddy said shoot." And in the song Find Your Way Back, there are lyrics like, "Daddy used to take me walking down the street, daddy used to take my hand and say follow me. Daddy used to leave me back home all the time. I got big enough to run around, daddy left me outside. He said find your way back, big big world, but you got it baby." Again, there's that whole I'm going to teach you to be independent and tough so you can stand up for yourself and stand alone. On her very first album, she has a song named Daddy, which she poured her heart out to her dad in it. She expressed how much she loves him and how he's given her security and how they used to go everywhere together, and it's true. At one point, Beyoncé and Matthew were at every award show and event together.
Beyonce's here with her dad. Does that get annoying that your dad comes everywhere, Beyonce, or you're all right with it? We'll talk afterwards and get the real story.
Her father clearly means a lot to her, and so it's not surprising to know that she is inspired by him. Now let's examine the actual lyrics. Daughter starts off with, "Your body laid out on these filthy floors, your bloodstains on my custom couture. Bathroom attendant let me right in, she was a big fan." Now we want to know who Beyoncé is talking about. This bit has to do with why we even have the album Cowboy Carter to begin with. And the reason is because of the racist experience she had when she performed at the CMAs in 2016. Think about it. Where would Beyoncé wear custom couture to? Where would a bathroom attendant be? It could be an award show, right? Hence the CMAs. Before the release of Cowboy Carter, Beyoncé said, "This album has been over 5 years in the making. It was born out of an experience that I had years ago where I did not feel welcomed, and it was very clear that I wasn't. But because of that experience, I did a deeper dive into the history of country music and studied our rich musical archive. We all assumed her experience was at the CMAs, but we all assumed that her experience was just reading articles of the negative things people had to say about her after the fact. But some of the very audience members there were a problem as well. Imagine the upset glares she got that night. I also heard some people walked out. What if Beyoncé had a direct racist encounter that night? Plus, in a documentary called Color Me Country, someone in attendance at the CMAs heard someone sitting in front of them say, "Get that black bee off the stage right now." Either a man or woman could have said that, but let me go out on a limb and say hypothetically a woman had said that and it got back to Beyoncé, or even if not that exact comment, imagine Beyoncé being at the award show and she heard about the negative things a particular woman had done or said negatively about her. Of course, she'd feel some type of way, infuriated even, so infuriated to the point she had murder on her mind, and that could very well be who she envisioned while singing Daughter, a racist woman who ran her mouth about her, and maybe in her presence at that. The next line says, I really tried to stay cool, but your arrogance disturbed my solitude. Now I ripped your dress and you're all black and blue, look what you made me do. So the woman was also wearing a dress which aligns with the award show murder plot. And she mentions the person's arrogance. And who's more arrogant than a racist white lady? Look what you made me do is giving, you caused this on yourself. The chorus says, they keep saying I ain't nothing like my father, but I'm the furthest thing from choir boys and altars. If you cross me, I'm just like my father. I am colder than Titanic water. Choir boys and altars represent innocent holy things, which she's saying she's not. She's as tough as her father, not Miss Goody Two-Shoes, and saying she's as cold as Titanic water really drives the point home to show that she's ruthless. And you probably listened to this song while clutching your pearls until you heard the next line. Help me Lord from these fantasies in my head, they ain't ever been safe ones. She's letting you know it's all make-believe. I feel like we've all had crazy thoughts before that we know we'd never actually execute. And the next line, I don't fellowship with these fake ones. I feel like this line is referring to the country music gatekeepers who feel like Beyoncé has to do a bunch of stuff before she enters into the country genre, who want to lay down ground rules of things Beyoncé has to do before she can do country. Some of the gatekeepers were like, Beyoncé, you can't just come into country like you own it. Even Rhiannon Giddens, who played the banjo on Texas Hold'em, back then she was playing a different tune. She's like, Beyoncé, we do this in real life and it's not right for you to come in and overshadow us. And even though she's never really done country prior to 2016, she must have still known that white people don't want black people to do country. It reminds me of how Luke Bryan basically said Beyoncé can't just expect a country music award just like that. He said that Beyoncé should come to an award show and high-five us and have fun and get in the family. She's probably been hearing the same thing since 2016, but why would Beyoncé want to be around that? She knows how country gatekeepers are, so no sense in hiding it behind, hey, you should mingle with us before you do a country album or get a country award. And she's like, no, why fellowship with the fakes? Moving on, so let's travel to white chapels and sing hymns, hold rosaries and sing in stained glass the symphonies, cleanse me Holy Trinity from this marijuana smoke smell in my hair. What's ironic is the first time I listened to this song, I was like, girl, let me get my rosary, just because of the vibe of it. And I was surprised that she actually went on to sing about rosaries, but this line is about trying to cleanse the dark thoughts from her mind, trying to shake the fantasy of unaliving people. She mentioned the marijuana smoke smell in her hair. A lot of people after smoking weed have experienced the fantasies and even hallucinations. So this could have been the case with Beyoncé. I mean, we've seen her smoke cigars plenty of times, and Jay-Z was in the cannabis business selling luxury quality weed in like 2020, so it's not far-fetched to think she smokes weed too, I'm just saying. I sashayed my dress, did my best impression of a damsel in distress. So she's pretending to be the victim, the one in need of help, even though she's the one who did the crime. This alcohol and smell of regret allured my catch. To me, the only regret of her fantasy could be that she wouldn't want to get into trouble if she actually carried out her wild thoughts. The fact that she said allured my catch further proves that she has no regrets. Outfit too small to hide my scars, feeling bottled up like bottle service broads. These are more emotional scars that she's talking about rather than physical, and I think she mentioned bottle service girls as a clever simile since bottle service girls bring bottles of wine and champagne to tables at parties. They have the bottles stacked, so they're quite literally bottled up. But Beyoncé is bottled up in a different way. She has a lot of feelings bottled up on the inside. She went on to say how long can he hold his breath before his death, which proves that she's not done yet. In her fantasy, she's getting back at everyone who has something negative to say, whether man or woman.
Death to all of them.
Beyoncé then breaks out into an Italian aria, Cara Romeo Ben, which means my dear beloved. The song itself, it translates to dearest my beloved, believe me at least this much, without you my heart languishes. This piece's main melody is asking for cruelty to end between the narrator and the object of his or her affection. In the lines Sospira Nior, Cesa Crudel, Tanto Rigor, the aria is about the heartache of being separated from a loved one. Could this be Beyoncé not wanting to be apart from the ones she loves, which would more than likely happen if she actually does the things that she fantasizes about? Maybe that's why the next line she repeats, help me Lord from these fantasies in my head. Also, the song contains elements of violin concerto in D major opus 3 No. 1, the second adagio by Joseph Bologne Chevalier de St. George's. Beyoncé made sure to also mention this in her GQ interview when asked about why she wanted to do a trilogy of records in different genres. She said, this is why it was so important for me to sample the composer Joseph Bologne, known as Chevalier, in the song Daughter on Cowboy Carter. His piece was created in the 1700s. This is a testament to Chevalier's vision. I hope it inspires artists as well as fans to dig deeper and learn more about the black musical innovators who came before us. Joseph was a great composer. He got the opportunity to become the next director of the Paris Opera, a monumentally prestigious position coveted by many. However, racism reared its ugly head as the three leading female singers from the opera petitioned the Queen Marie Antoinette to block Chevalier from becoming director, since their honor and delicate conscience could never allow them to submit to the orders of a mulatto. He eventually withdrew his name from consideration. Joseph was also known as the Black Mozart. It's said that Mozart was in Chevalier's shadow and even copied ideas from his work. Here it says it is rather unfair, and some argue it is Mozart who should be known as the White Chevalier. Long story short, he turned away from music to fight for social change. He became an abolitionist and then became a soldier in the French Revolution, leading the country's first black regiment of 1,000 men. After the execution of Marie Antoinette and her husband King Louis XVI in late 1793, revolutionaries sought executions and punishments for those with prior links to the aristocracy, which Chevalier was friends with Marie Antoinette, so he was eventually jailed and died alone at 53 from an ulcerated bladder. Many of his musical works were lost during the French Revolution, and history then seemingly forgot about all his achievements. Beyoncé did a good job in highlighting Chevalier. Just goes to show that white people stealing ideas from black people isn't new, and now we know who Mozart is but not Chevalier, which is a sad case. And it's so ironic because I was going to start this video off with a Mozart song, and the only reason I didn't do it is because I'm saving it for part 2.